Hello everyone. I wanted to show you what I have been doing since school was closed. So what many of you may not know is that before I was a teacher, I worked as a gardener. I had my own gardening retail specialty store. I did farmers markets. I had production gardens that I used to grow cut flowers for the farmers market, as well as some local florists. I also did annuals and perennials for sale by the pot. I would dig them either at my place, or I would dig them up and take them with me to the farmers market. So I did this for many years, and I got into it through seeds. I am a self-professed seed geek, and what I mean by that is that I find seeds extremely fascinating. If you think about a return on investment, tomatoes, I believe, have the highest return on investment. So one seed of a tomato will create a bush that you can harvest, 10 or 20 tomatoes from, and then each of those tomatoes will give several hundred seeds. So it just goes on and on and on. Here I have some examples of how I start my seeds. I have some little Jiffy Peat pellets is what these are called, and I only use those for seeds that don't like to have their roots disturbed. These are two examples of perennials, and this is how I basically start most of my seeds. I put them in a little pot, I put a label on, and I have some lights inside the house. Once they sprout, I do start them on a heat tray because a lot of seeds germinate better with heat. These are tomato plants that I've started earlier this year. I usually start in January or February because some plants, like leeks, need a very long season, and a lot of perennials do too. So you start them really early. And then once they get, to this size, I will pot them up into something like this cord fiber tray. I also collect my own seeds. These are some from plants I grew last summer. It's a very economical way of getting things started. If you know people who have gardens, you can ask them if you can collect some of their seeds. And then this is all that I've started this year for seeds. So everything in the front here, this is everything that's been planted in the order it was planted, and these are my empty packets, so that next winter when I'm ordering more seeds, I can quickly figure out what I've run out of. And as if that were not enough, here comes the geek part. I actually make a spreadsheet, and so this spreadsheet on the left-hand side shows you the names of all of the seeds plus the year of the seed packet. So I do keep my seeds from year to year. Some things like leeks are only good for a year, and you have to buy new ones every time. But some of them will keep germinating for 6 or 7 years. So on the right, we have dates along the top. So this year my first start was February 19th, and the red box shows when it was started, and then if it's pink, it needs heat. If it's yellow, it does not, and if it's blue, it needs what's called stratification. So sometimes we have to trick the seeds into germinating by replicating what happens in the wild. So if a plant drops its own seeds out in the wild, it goes through a series of freezing and thawing over the winter. So you can do that with your seeds. You can also scarify them, you can scratch into them, make little nicks in them, you can soak them in water. There are all these different tricks. So this is my greenhouse. I've had this greenhouse for about 10 years, and everything in it I have grown from seed. So all of these trays, some of them I've started to plant out, some are ready to go out now. Some of them are still quite small, but they'll get there. So all of these trays I have started from seed. I've also got plenty of things in the ground here. Like you can see on this side, I've got a couple of different types of radishes. I've got lettuces, I've got spinach, and back there I've got broccoli rabe, which is just about done because it likes it really cold. Arugula. That little red one is lettuce that I started last September, and they overwinter, so they're really early, they're ready. Those little itty bitty sprouts are from where I've cut one of those red lettuces, and it's resprouting. Got lots of tomatoes ready to go. This is called komatsu, which is a mustard spinach. It's a very spicy green. These are cilantro, and these are pea shoots. So the greenhouse gets really quite warm. I do have vent roofs, windows that I open. I have a little heater to keep it going when it's not as warm at night. And then outside I've got these beds where I start moving things out. I did some pea shoots, probably almost a month ago. Some peas, these will be climbing up. They're snap peas and snow peas. That's sorrel, which is a perennial vegetable. It tastes a lot like a lemony spinach. I've got some parsley and some garlic chives. And then in this bed I've got radishes and some things seeded like Swiss chard and kale. And I've got some scallion and leek seedlings that I've already put out. So this is an image of what the gardens look like a little bit more in the middle of season. And then these are all pictures from last summer. I was doing an Instagram feed where I did, every day I did what was blooming. And some days I had to do 2 or 3 shots to get it all in. I have a lot of space, I'm very lucky, and I have a lot of experience with this, so I play around with lots of different plants. And it is my living piece of art. I have textures, colors, everything you can imagine, and it's extremely fun and rewarding. So in addition to doing all sorts of fun classroom work for you, that's mainly how I've been spending my time in my gardens. There's one more thing I wanted to show you, so I'm going to walk up the hill here. I do a lot of composting. As you can imagine, with this many beds, this many things that turn over, and this is just the very beginning. In this bed we've got daffodils that are late bloomers, so they haven't come up yet, they aren't blooming. That's the yellow garden. The front garden is very much a lupin and sort of early June garden. It will really hit its peak late June, maybe early July, and I'm slowly changing it over to naturalized plantings because it's being taken over by the milkweed that the butterflies love, and we had so many butterflies last year that I'm just gonna let them have it. So here you see are my compost bins. I've got 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I was doing this morning before I started the video was I was sifting compost. So I dig it onto this tray, move it around with my hands, and then I end up with this beautiful sifted compost, and that goes under the mulch on my beds. So it keeps building up the quality of the soil. Anything that doesn't sift down through gets put in this bucket and then back up in one of the beds. And they have beneficial microbes in it, and it will help jumpstart the compost. So there you have it, cycle of life from seed to compost.